All right, looks like it's going.
Yep.
Welcome everyone to the February 2024 meeting of the 43rd Democrats. We've posted the agenda in the chat for you. It's a very packed agenda, and so we will get started without any more delay. Emily, if you can take us through the meeting norms and land acknowledgement, please.
Absolutely. Paul, will you please go to the next slide? Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for spending your Tuesday night here with us. Really grateful to see everybody's names here. So I'm just going to cover some general meeting operations, some norms, some rules, and then we'll go into our land acknowledgement. To seek the floor for any reason, please raise your hand by selecting the reactions in your meeting window and then the raise hand function. Paul, our chair, will call on raised hands in the order that they appear. And then once you've spoken, please make sure to lower your hand. That way we know that you have said what you want to say and that we can move on to the next person. And if you're calling in, you can press *9 to raise your hand. If we need to take a quick poll of the membership, our chair may ask to use a yes/no reaction. Those can also be found in your reactions near where the raise hand button is. There's going to be several times throughout our meeting where the chat will be disabled. You can find that on the agenda. So that'll turn off and turn on throughout the meeting. And we are also live streaming on YouTube. Um, we also have voting codes. So if you did not receive your voting code prior to this meeting, please email tally@43rddemocrats.org because your voice is important to us and we want to make sure that you have a vote. Next, please. All right. So a few meeting norms to go over. Please treat everyone with dignity and respect. We're not all experts in things, so if you don't know something, please ask us and we're happy to take a question. If you find that you are a person who gets really excited and speaks up a lot, know when to step up or step back in that case. And remember that everyone here is a volunteer. And we also share responsibility of staying on time. This is something that our board is um, really diligent about and means a lot to us. So we use Robert's Rules of Order. They're a set of parliamentary procedures that run in our meetings. You don't have to know all the details to participate. But like I said before, if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand and we can um, help understanding or also request a motion if needed. Um, they're complex, but most of them start with I move that we either approve, amend, postpone the resolution. And you have a right to participate as a full member in our meetings. If you need us to slow down and explain what is going on, again, please just raise your hand and ask, and we're happy to do so. And if you are just the absolute best at parliamentary procedure, please use your powers for good and consider the impact of making a complicated motion will have on the meeting and the group as a whole. So now we'll go into our land acknowledgement. Although we are all joining virtually here tonight, we'd like to start this event acknowledging that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. And if you'd like to learn more about whose land you occupy or have occupied, you can see a map at native-land.ca.
All right. Thank you very much, Emily.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. With that, I would like to ask for someone to make a motion to approve the agenda. I've put the agenda link in the chat. for you to be able to follow along on your own with that. Do we have a motion? All right, I see a motion from Justin. Thank you very much. Next up, approval of minutes from January. Let me put that into the chat. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from January? I see Andrew and Linda. Thank you very much for that. Or Linda, do you have your hand up for another reason?
Yes,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
motions have to have seconds and they have to have a vote of some kind. Sorry to remind you about that.
Thank you. Do we have a second on the agenda?
Seconded.
All right. Is there any objection to accepting the agenda without a formal vote? Is there any objection? All right, seeing none, we've got the agenda approved. Do we have a second on approving the minutes from January?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Liam. Is there any objections to approving the minutes from January? Any objections? All right, seeing no objections, the minutes are approved. We have a very packed agenda tonight, so I would ask you all for your indulgence in trying to help keep us on track. We've got a resolution concerning Gaza on the agenda. We have a guest speaker on Black History Month, Duante Damper. We're excited to have him. We've got some additional board elections. If we have enough PCOs, we'll be able to do that vote. We need 15 PCOs in order to hold that vote. We have information about the state national delegate selection process, and then we have a budget that we would like your review and approval on. All of these are in the minutes, in the agenda. The link is in the chat. Please take a look at that as you go. We will start off with a resolution in support of immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And for this portion of the meeting, we'll have chat off.
Paul, just really quick.
Yes.
Do you want to just make sure that people submit their voting codes prior to going into the chat off time?
Yes. That's a good point. If Liam has posted the link for credentialing, please use that link. I just reposted it again. Please use that link to get yourself credentialed. If you are running into difficulty doing that, please either send an email to tally@43rddemocrats.org, or you can contact one of the people who's got co-host next to their name, who is not me. I won't unfortunately be able to respond in chat while I'm running the meeting here.
Second.
All right.
That's the question. So
sorry, who's
this is Ellen.
Ellen? Hi, Ellen. Yes.
Hi. So I have to sign into the meeting using my voting code with this link. Liam Steckler.
Yes, click that link, and then they'll bring up a Google form.
Yeah.
Here, I can show you what the Google form looks like.
43rd District Dems, February 2024 meeting credentials, and enter your voting code and select present to sign into the meeting. Where do I put my voting code? Oh, my
right here it says enter voting code.
Oh, your answer? Or
yes. Yeah.
if you okay.
Copy and paste that out of the email. Make sure it's got the dash in it.
Can't I just do, oh yeah, I think I did copy and paste it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no, this is wrong. Can I just
Ellen, sorry. If you can contact one of the other co-hosts so that they can
Okay.
help you via chat to resolve your questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Peter Shapiro, I requested the credential for voting at tally. I have received no email at this point.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Please talk to one of the co-hosts. If you send it to tally, they will get to you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Resolution here. Here is the resolution. My understanding is that we have someone who is ready to present the facts of the.
Yes, I'm ready, Paul.
Sorry, Paul, accidentally muted you while muting everyone.
Sorry. All right. Thank you. All right. Amy, thank you for presenting the facts of this resolution. The link is in chat here for everybody. So you can read it as well as Amy takes us through it.
Yeah, first of all, thank you everyone for coming tonight and being part of this incredibly important discussion. In a moment, one of the co-sponsors is going to read the resolved clauses at the bottom of the resolution, which is the actionable items that come from the resolution. I'm just going to go over the scope of it right now a little bit and give you some background. So this resolution came about from the work of a lot of community members in the Democratic Party. Versions of this resolution or very similar resolutions were passed in the first LD, the first Legislative District Democrats, the 32nd LD, the 44th LD, and then at our January 28th, 2024 state committee meeting, a very similar ceasefire resolution was passed by the state party. So it is now the official position of the Washington State Democrats to support ceasefire. And we wanted to bring this conversation to the 43rd as well. A lot of the discussion that happened around this involved Jewish and Muslim and Palestinian and other community members and leaders. There's been a lot of very thoughtful discussion that's gone into wording this in a way that's going to work for the most amount of people. And, you know, the resolution does call for ceasefire. It condemns the attacks by Hamas on October 7th. It discusses the Israeli hostages and the call to return them to safety. It discusses the World Health Organization's reports on the situation in Gaza and many other reports. And I really hope you'll take the time to kind of look over the text and see what is covered. We also talk about the International Criminal Justice Court ruling and funding to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. One thing that really distinguishes our resolution from some of the other resolutions that have passed is that we put a very special amount of focus on the rise in anti-Arab and anti-Palestinian and anti-Muslim violence. All of the resolutions so far have discussed the anti-Semitism and the violence toward our Jewish siblings. But this resolution puts a special focus on that because that is something that a lot of the community members are feeling has not properly been addressed. And then I think that's, I don't want to go too much into the detail. I think that covers the scope of the whereas clauses. One of our co-sponsors, Christina Beverlin, is going to read the resolved clauses at the end, which you will find if you scroll down to the bottom. And then we will come and answer some questions based on the facts of the resolution and the situation. So if we can unmute Christina.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy. There are 4 resolved clauses that I'm going to read this evening. Therefore, be it resolved that the 43rd Legislative District Democrats condemn both the attack on October 7th, 2023 by Hamas and the Israeli military's disproportionate response on the 2.3 million Palestinian people living in Gaza, nearly half of whom are children, and call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire. Be it further resolved that the 43rd Legislative District Democrats call for the immediate reinstatement of U.S. funding for UNRWA, the UN agency tasked with supporting over 1.9 million internally displaced people in Gaza. Be it further resolved that the 43rd Legislative District Democrats call on members of the congressional delegation in Washington to support and sign on to the Ceasefire Now resolution, H.R. 786, calling for an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Israel and occupied Palestine, written by Congresswoman Cori Bush and co-sponsored by Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal from Washington's 7th Congressional District, as well as 16 other congressional representatives, and call on them to advocate more broadly for an immediate long-term ceasefire agreement and delivery of adequate humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people. Be it finally resolved that the 43rd Legislative District Democrats affirm our commitment to combat anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Palestinian and anti-Arab bigotry, our support for the people of both Palestine and Israel to live in peace and security, and the right for all people to live, learn, work, play, pray, and engage in peaceful protest without threats, intimidation, violence, or death. And we call on each of our Democratic elected representatives to address the rise in bigotry, hateful actions, and targeted violence in our communities and to join our call for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. I'll turn it back to you, Amy.
Thank you, Christina. And I know that at this point, we're probably going to go to question and answer. Is that correct, Paul? And if you can give me an indication of exactly how much time we have for that, about 5 minutes or less. Is that about right? Okay. All right. And then Abby Zorn, one of the co-sponsors of the resolution, if we can spotlight her as well, she is going to help me answer questions. Just want to remind everyone that the question and answer period is really strictly for factual questions. It's not for making arguments for or against the resolution. There will be time for debate a little later, and that's just to make sure to respect everybody's time and get everybody's questions answered. So, Paul, are you going to figure out who's raising their hands and mute them?
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's anyone who has questions about the resolution, please raise your hand. While we're waiting on that, just as a reminder how the debate process works, we have the factual presentation of, and James, if you wouldn't mind putting the link into chat here as well, that'd be helpful. The rules for debate. We have the factual presentation. We have an opportunity for question and answer. We move to debate. We have up to 3 people speaking for and against against the motion. And then at that point, we move to a vote. Are there any questions about the resolution?
One question that may have come up that I've heard a little in the community that I can answer just ahead of time is defining ceasefire. And what we mean by ceasefire is 3 things. It means stopping the bombs and stopping killing people. It means getting the hostages back. And it means entering into political negotiation rather than further military. So that's what we mean by ceasefire. And if there's no other questions.
If you do have a question, please use the reaction buttons to raise your hand so I can
Yes.
see you.
Before we go, yes, JP Shapiro does have his hand up, but I sent you a message with your voting code in Zoom. So if that's it, then we're good. And also, Ellen, I sent you a message also through the Zoom meeting chat. So please let me know if you need any additional help.
And as a reminder, please make sure that you have signed into the credential form for the meeting so that we have you counted as being present. Thank you for that. Let's see. And I see, Lori, you have your hand raised. if you can unmute. Lori? All right, well, we can come back
Hello?
to you.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
Hi.
we can see you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Great. So I might have missed, so I'm having connection issues. When you talk about a ceasefire, does this mean that all the hostages are freed? No missiles are fired from Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria? No bombings in Gaza that kill civilian children, women, or men, and the ceasefire is continuous until the negotiated resolution of the conflict is reached? Is that what you mean when you talk about ceasefire?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Or
Go ahead.
because my concern is that the hostages have been lost in all of this. And so when y'all talk about a ceasefire, we have to remember that October
Sorry,
7th.
Lori, do you have a question, or is that
Yeah, hold on.
a statement
Hold on.
for a
Hold on.
statement against the
No.
motion?
Hold on, I'm getting to my question.
Okay.
We let me finish, please. We have to remember that a ceasefire is when October 7th happened. So when we say ceasefire, what exactly does that all entail? Is it just Israel stopping, or does, Hamas have to give back our hostages? My question.
So the answer is yes, it means a ceasefire from all sides and the hostages must be returned. Abby, do you have anything you'd like to add to that? And can we make sure Abby's unmuted?
Thanks. Yes, I would agree that ceasefire as defined in this resolution, a return of the hostages is absolutely part of that.
All right. Jay Shapiro? Yep.
I have a question procedure. When the chair entertain amendments to the resolution? I have an amendment to propose.
If I can indulge you, let's wait until after we have questions about the questions are answered on the resolution.
Certainly, that makes sense, but I want to make my motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
Question, why doesn't the resolution include that specific language about what ceasefire means?
I believe that ceasefire this is the way that the communities have been defining that in general. Abby, I don't know if you have anything to add about that.
I don't have anything to add.
Or if there's any other co-sponsor has something to say about that. Looking through. Ceasefire is generally understood to mean the stopping of all military action from both sides, the return of the hostages. And the most important thing about ceasefire is moving into a political negotiation for both sides, as opposed to continued military action. And I know we're past our 5-minute mark for question answers. Paul, is there?
We are. So JP, you had a amendment you would like to propose?
Could you unmute me there? Okay. I do believe in the ceasefire proposal and resolution, but I think it's lacking in the specificity that people have been asking about right now, just now. And so I would offer this amendment. As soon as I can find that part of here we go. Okay. I would insert after the first whereas clause, this clause, whereas the terrorist minority of Gazan residents known as Hamas, has deliberately endangered the lives of innocent Gazan residents by placing military supplies, centers of command and control for their terrorist operations, and other supplies and military equipment and facilities in or under hospitals, schools, and other public humanitarian buildings, thereby using innocent civilians as human shields for their terrorist operations and causing the deaths of innocent Gazan civilians. So that's a whereas, which I think balances out what we all have been thinking, but is not really expressed in the resolution. And then the motion would continue as to after the first therefore clause, therefore be it further resolved that any ceasefire require and be conditioned on the immediate return of all living hostages held by Hamas or other groups in Gaza, and the return of the remains of all deceased hostages.
JP, can you post both of those into chat, please?
Last I looked, chat was disabled, but I'll try to do that.
You could send it directly to me in this case.
Okay. And where would I send it?
Use the chat to send me a message with both of those. Just copy and paste both of those in, please.
Okay, I will try to do that. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I think I've sent it.
All right, yes. Okay, let me grab this. For purposes here, let me, if you can indulge me, I'm pasting these in place so that we can see where the motion is here after the first therefore, right?
Yeah, right. There's a whereas and then action.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to insert these two clauses, a whereas and a therefore. Is there a second for that? All right, Lori, I see you're a second. Okay. We can now debate the motion. Sorry, Andrew. Yeah, I see your hand.
Yes, I was speaking on the amendments
Oh,
because
sorry,
we have to put the amendment first.
Sorry, we are speaking on the amendments. The amendment.
Okay.
JP, I want to confirm, it does not appear that you are a voting member of the 43rd.
I'm a PCO.
You're a PCO. Okay. All right.
4378.
All right.
And the reason is I want to speak against the amendments. Am I allowed now? How long do I have?
Hold on. Also, Lori, I want to confirm that you are a voting member of the 43rd. Okay, we have, yeah, you are. Okay. We will now have debate on the amendment. Again, it is for and against the amendment. JP, would you like to speak for up to 2 minutes for the amendment?
Well, I don't think I need that much time. I basically, in my preamble, before I actually read the proposed amendment, I talked about the fact I believe the resolution doesn't, as written without these additions, set forth what we've been thinking and talking about the situation. So certainly making clear in terms of action that return of hostages, etc., is necessary for as part of the ceasefire, and to make clear factually what is not otherwise in the current resolution form, the fact that the Hamas has plenty of blame and it's not expressed unless we put it in this form in my amendment to the whereas.
All right, and do we have a speaker against? Andrew, I saw your hand. If you would like to speak against.
Yes, I'm coming from an experience of knowing what's killing based on who you are is, because I lost my grandfather to a genocide in Nigeria. And it's really disingenuous when we just put the blame on just one side. This is two entities. So if we're going to blame Gaza or Hamas also, then we should not ignore that Israel as a government is also part of the crisis. And the ceasefire, this resolution, it was initially well worded because it took away bias and calling the actions that were done as it is with facts, not hypothetical, real facts. So this amendment is very one-sided. And I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have another somebody who would like to speak against, sorry, for or against the amendments? I see Abby and Amy with their hand raised. I'm assuming you'll speak against. Do we have anybody who would like to speak for the amendments? Anyone else? Linda, do you want to speak for or against the amendment?
Neither one. I want to ask if we have quorum.
Yes, I believe we do. We have 35 credentialed at the moment.
Paul, it looks like Ellen is trying to say something. And I don't see their hand up, but I just wanted to put that on your radar.
Thanks. I don't see Ellen to be able to unmute her. So Ellen, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand using the reactions links so that we can find you and unmute
I
you.
just asked Ellen to unmute in Zoom.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's working though.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. I can't find this reaction button. I would like to say that I particularly like Mr. Shapiro's amendment because I suspect that Hamas does not represent all of the people in Gaza. And that is what I think is a very good, is very good about this amendment. And I also have concerns, it doesn't really apply to this amendment, but what about Lebanon, invasions from the north in Lebanon? Does this ceasefire apply to them? But I support this amendment. I think it's very clear. And I think it really illustrates that maybe the people in Gaza are being used by Hamas. And where is this button I'm supposed to be pushing?
It may be under the more button.
The more button?
Yeah, with the three little dots might be underneath there, and then reactions.
These three little dots over
All
here?
right. Thank you for that statement in favor of the motion, Ellen. Abby, if you'd like to speak.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to speak against adding this amendment. And I'll just add that I'm a member of the Jewish community, and as a member of the Jewish community, I just don't feel comfortable adding this amendment. This resolution, as it has been presented, has been incredibly well researched with a lot of citations, and I just don't think we should add an amendment at this time that doesn't have the same rigorous research around it to add to ensure that everything is factual. I think it's really important that this resolution remain factual. And I will cede the rest of my time.
Thank you, Abby. Is there anyone who'd like to speak for this motion? Lori?
I speak for this motion with the added amendments because, and I am also a member of the Jewish community. I believe that not calling out Hamas as terrorists as they are, and not being very clear. And with this amendment, we are very clear on what we would like and what needs to be done on both sides. Without the amendments, this is mushy. And it does not include factual basis that actually have been proven and actually researched over years upon years. I think this is fair. I think it includes both concerns from both sides. It's not a perfect resolution, which means that both sides don't get everything that they want, but you can meet in the middle. And I speak for it because if we want a ceasefire, if we want to get aid into Gaza, we also want to get out the hostages. I think it's very important. And I think the resolution as it is in its totality is giving some to each side. And that's the best you're going to get.
All right. Thank you, Lori. Amy, would you like to speak?
Yes, I'd like to speak against the motion. One thing I want to really stress is that this resolution was created with a great deal of community input, especially earlier versions that went to the 46th and the version that went to the state party. We had Muslim, Jewish, Arab American community members coming together to discuss the different points that, a fact that folks agreed on, and providing research about, all of the research showing where each fact came from. There is a lot of give and take that has gone into this version already. The hostages are talked about fairly extensively in a few clauses, because it was very important for us all to honor, that side of the story. And the other thing was that, so the second, the therefore be it resolved at the end, that is proposed to add, I feel like that is covered in the rest of the resolution. And then the first, the whereas addition, some of those points of argument are under a great deal of debate, whether there are actually command centers under hospitals. It's been a point of a great deal of debate. And there may be time in future meetings where a really specific resolution about that situation could be brought up as well. And I was hoping to cede the rest of my time to Yusuf Elamir, who is a young Democratic volunteer and a member of the Palestinian community. Other speakers ceded their time as well. Is there any way that some of their time could go to Yusuf?
For the purposes of the motion?
Yeah, Abby had about a minute left, I believe, and Andrew had at least a minute left as well.
I believe our rules of debate are, and James, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's 3 speakers.
Right, and you can cede part of your time, so you can use the 2 minutes however you wish.
James?
So the number of speakers and the length of time is up to the chair's discretion. No fewer than 30 and no more than 2 minutes.
Okay, we will allow 1 additional minute.
Okay, and can we make
I
sure
I would like to move on to
Yep.
voting on this motion and then voting on the resolution so that we can continue on with our meeting here. Yosef, if you can, someone can unmute Yosef so that we can proceed.
Mr. Chair, Peter Shapiro, I still have not received anything from Tally.
JP, please contact one of the people with co-host next to their name, and they'll assist you.
I have sent it to you in the Zoom chat through a direct message. I will send it to you again, if that would help. But yeah.
There's Zoom. Can someone unmute? There we go.
Yes,
Yosef.
thank you. I'm unmuted.
There
Can you hear me
you
now?
go. Okay, yes, we can.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd also thank you, Amy, for ceding time. I'd also like to argue against the amendment. I would like to say that, as Abby and Amy mentioned, the ceasefire resolution already includes mention of Hamas and the events of October 7th and talks about the hostages extensively. I do believe it is disingenuous to frame the statements about Gaza without acknowledging the history of the occupation. And in conflicts, there are verifying bodies for claims being made, such as the military under hospitals and that kind of stuff. No credible entity has verified any of these claims in the amendments, and it's currently very well researched and cited. And so I believe we should keep the resolution strictly factual. Thank you. I see the rest of my time.
All right, thank you. And with that, let's move to a vote on this amendment. Do we have a voting form ready for this amendment? Perfect. Thank you, Liam. Everyone, please click the link in chat for the amendment here. Put your voting code in, choose whether you want to adopt the amendment, reject the amendment, or abstain on the amendment. And if someone can send Rye the credentials link. Oh, Thank you. Let me put this in here again. All right. I will stop sharing for the moment. And we will take just a couple of minutes to do the vote here. Again, if you're having trouble finding your voting code, please email tally@43rddemocrats.org. And also, you can contact one of the people with co-host after their name.
And just to clarify, right now we are voting on the proposed amendment.
We are correct. We are voting on the proposed amendment to add the whereas clause and the therefore clause.
Thanks, Paul.
Adding this clause and this clause. The voting form is the amendment ballot, which was posted into chat. And then use your, let me show you that again. Nope, it's not that one. Go with, oh, wrong one. That one. This one, proposed amendment, voting code, yes, no, abstain, and then click submit. Is there anyone who's been unable to vote? JPIC, you've got your hand raised. Are you seeing your voting code in the chat? You're not seeing your voting code in chat or in email. If you are comfortable, would you mind contacting Sophia to provide her with your vote in that case?
Do you have an email that I could send it directly? Is it j.peter.shapiro@gmail.com, and I could send it to email to you directly there? Okay, I will do so right now.
We will close voting here in just a minute. Wait for JP to get his vote in. We will then proceed on to speeches for and against the amendment, again, up to 3 for and 3 against. Sorry, the resolution, my apologies. Up to 3 for and 3 against the resolution.
Sorry.
Amy, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I would like to cede my time as a member of the 43rd Democrats.
Sorry, Amy, we're not ready to speak for it.
Apologize.
We still need to close on this.
Okay.
Close on this motion of amendment. Andrew?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. About we need the motion to see the results of the motion before we can debate.
Okay, all right. JP? You have to unmute, please, JP.
I still have not received it. I expect that it'll be overwhelmingly rejected. If it's a close call, I'll ask for some kind of a relief. But go ahead and take the vote. We don't want to delay the meeting any further.
All right.
Thank
you for
I
your
have
indulgence there,
just
JP.
I have just sent you the your
Ah.
voting code.
Finally, yes. Okay, finally came.
Okay, thank you. And please make sure to sign in on the credentials form and the voting ballot.
Sophia, Liam, are we able to pull a tally of the votes?
Yep, give me just one moment. All right, I will go ahead and close it.
All right. I don't know if you can post that photo into chat as well, Liam. But the tally is on the motion to add these to amend the resolution with these two clauses. The abstains are 2, the noes are 27, and the yeses are 7. And so the motion to amend fails. We will now move into debate on the resolution itself. I will delete these 2 clauses from the document. And Amy, I see your hand raised for speaking for the resolution. JP, is your hand raised to speak against the resolution? No. Okay. Linda, is your hand raised to speak against the resolution? You can just thumbs up if that's what it is.
John wants to speak against the resolution. He's sitting right here.
All right. John
But
does.
not yet, right?
Thank you. And then Abby, you want to speak for. Helen, you speak for. Okay. Is there anyone who wants to speak against? I'm just trying to cue this up here so we can go efficiently. JP, is your hand still raised for other issues, or is it to speak against? Okay, I'll lower your hand then. Thank you very much. All right, I would just remind everyone here to be respectful in your speech for or against this resolution. Amy, you first.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So it's really important to me that we center Palestinian voices in this discussion. And I want to cede my time as a 43rd member to Youssef El Amir, who has been a campaign manager for Democratic candidates, has been a longtime volunteer in the Democratic Party, has collaborated with the King County Young Democrats, and is just a really important member of our community to be listening to. And I cede time to him.
Youssef.
Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate that. I wanted to start by thanking the 43rd community for valuing hearing from a Palestinian voice. And I wanted to thank the community members from the Jewish community, the Arab community, the Muslim community, and all communities that participated in the creation of this resolution. The Palestinian community is overwhelmingly democratic, and our values align strongly with the Democratic Party. Seeing the Democrats pass a ceasefire resolution helps us feel supported, represented, seen, and heard. Palestinians see all struggles for human rights as intersectional, and we call on the democratic community to stand by their values and to be intersectional in the upholding of human rights as well. Speaking for my community, there has been a shocking rise in hate crimes and violence against Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, and those perceived as such since October that has taken lives, permanently disabled others, and inflicted fear on us all here in America. It is imperative that our elected leaders respond and protect our communities, and I commend this resolution for addressing and including that. I want to thank everyone once again for their involvement in this resolution, and I see the rest of my time.
All right, thank you, Yosef. John, if you and Linda can raise your hand so we can find you to unmute you.
Hello? You need to be near.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I reject and oppose the resolution because it will result in more violence than you have ever seen. As long as Hamas continues to exist, they have no respect for any agreement they might sign. And this is obvious. This is like making an agreement with ISIS. And there's not a lot of difference between Hamas and ISIS. They have an agenda of destroying Israel, no matter how long it takes. They are the reward that Israel got for handing the Gaza Strip over to the Palestinians, which was supposedly going to create peace. And in fact, it resulted in the demise of much of the Israeli left, who had always claimed that if you give up land, you'll get peace. This is, I think, the issue of civilians being harmed is an important issue. The real way to approach it is to get them away from Hamas. One idea is the mercy ships out in the Mediterranean. Get them away from Hamas. Hamas, they're nothing but shields. That's all they are. Hamas is a deranged, theocratic movement and a death cult.
All right. Thank you, John.
I think he had more seconds to speak.
Oh,
I don't know why he got muted. It's showing 31 seconds left.
Did you have an additional something to say, John?
Yeah, I would just like to emphasize that getting rid of the cause of the violence, you have to do that in order to have less violence. Now, like they've considerably lost support among the Gazans, and as a result, if you could get rid of them, you might be able to create some kind of halfway decent situation on the Gaza Strip. I guess that's the summation of what I have to say.
All right, thank you, John. Abby, Helen, which of you would like to speak for this resolution? All right, Abby.
Thank you. My name is Abby Zorn, and I'm a co-sponsor of this ceasefire resolution. I'm a member of the Jewish community, and I belong to Congregation Beth Shalom here in Seattle. I voted absentee for President Obama from my dorm room in Israel during my semester abroad, and I have volunteered for Democratic candidates here in Washington, such as Dr. Kim Schreier. I signed on to co-sponsor this resolution because I believe a permanent ceasefire will save lives. It is the only way to bring safety to Palestinians and to Jews. I believe it is the only way to guarantee a safe return of hostages. Continuing to bomb Gaza, killing civilians, including thousands of children, and destroying homes does not keep Jewish Israelis, Jewish Americans, or Arab Americans safe. This violence ensures that Islamophobia and anti-Semitism will continue. The continued bombing threatens the lives of the hostages. A permanent ceasefire is our best option to save lives, reunite the hostages, and end the destruction of families. And this is why I am co-sponsoring this resolution. I cede the rest of my time.
Thank you. Do we have another speaker against?
You gonna speak? Why not?
Linda?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Since 1984, I've been active inside the Democratic Party in the 32nd District and the 43rd District, at the county level and at the state level, ensuring that we have a platform that says we stand for a two-state solution. Because I really believe in two states for two peoples. Secure states that do not have to go to war with each other anymore. I agree with Abby that people need protection. If we had added the amendment to this resolution, I would feel that I could support it. But what it does not mention is that Hamas broke a ceasefire on October 7th. It does not mention the horrific rapes that the people doing the invasion of the Nova Festival and of those kibbutzim on the border, of the murders, of the burning. None of that is mentioned in this resolution as a war crime, which it was. None of it is mentioned as in any way deserving our attention. I don't believe that the ceasefire that's called for in the resolution as it's now written will be a ceasefire for both sides. And because it will not be, I don't think it will be any kind of solution. And therefore, I cannot support the resolution as we now have it. And I hope you won't either.
Thank you, Linda. Helen, you will speak for the resolution? All right. Yep.
Cool. I am Helen Rosinski. I'm a Jewish community member living here in Fremont. I am 24 years old. I'm a co-sponsor of this resolution. I actually work in polling, and I wanted to start by presenting some polling data and keep this as fact-based as possible. So this is from a poll conducted by the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding, and it was published last week. 63% of the general American public is currently in support of calling for a ceasefire. 57% of Jewish Democrats are in support of a ceasefire. And 54% of all young Jews surveyed in this poll, 18 to 29 years of age, are in support of a ceasefire. One of the reasons I co-sponsored this resolution is because I'm incredibly frustrated with the Democratic Party's failure to take a stand here. It's incredibly alienating to the younger voter base, as well as to the general voting public, to watch as the state turns a blind eye to genocide. The Democratic Party should not be complicit in this, and establishing a ceasefire resolution here at this meeting today for our community is one tangible thing that we can do for a ceasefire at large, and it's really important.
All right. Thank you, Helen. Do we have one more speaker against the resolution? Ellen.
Yeah, my name's Ellen. I'm 72 years old. And I'm not Jewish, although I grew up in Highland Park, Illinois, where there's lots of Jews. And I lived for 4 years in Germany. I would say that one of the problems with this ceasefire is that it doesn't mention that Hamas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, recognizes that the state of Israel has a right to exist. And that, I think, is a really big part of the problem with a ceasefire, is that it just seems to be, at my age, after seeing how many wars in Israel, and the Middle East, that there's never been a recognition that Israel has a right to exist. In my opinion, it was a dodgy thing to make the Arabs the scapegoats for what happened in Europe in the 30s and 40s. However, Israel does exist, and I don't think anybody really, I don't believe that Hamas will respect this ceasefire, nor that the extremists will ever acknowledge that Israel has a right to exist. Just my opinion at my age. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ellen. And with that, we will move to a vote. If Liam, if you can post the link to the ballot. Thank you very much. The ballot looks like this. Again, a yes vote is to support the resolution, to pass the resolution. A no vote is to reject the resolution, and an abstain is an abstention on voting for or against the resolution. Paste your voting code in here. Yes, no, abstain, click submit. We will hold the vote while we move forward in our agenda. John, please email Tally at 43rd Democrats, and the Tally committee will help you with your voting code. Okay. Again, please continue to vote. We'll move forward on just to be expedient with our time, we'll move forward in our agenda. Next up, we are very pleased to have Deontay Damper here to speak to us about Black History Month. Let me find you here and ask you to unmute.
Yes, and thank you very much, Paul. And just for the record, everyone, my name is Deontay.
Deontay. All right. Sorry. Thank you for
like Beyonce, but I'm not singing country. Okay.
All right. Give me just a second here, Deontay, and I will stop sharing, and then I will spotlight you. Oh, you've already been spotlighted. Please take it away. Thank you very much.
What an honor. Andrew, where are you at? Are you here? If you can spotlight him too. I wasn't. There we are. Don't we look beautiful? You look beautiful.
Hi everyone. Sorry about that. It's such a great honor to have Deontay Damper here with us today to talk about Black history here in Seattle, here in the 43rd District, and what it means to be Black now in Seattle, but also what it means to be Black in the political space we're in. And Deontay, I would like you to introduce yourself and your great biography.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Deontay Damper, pronouns he, him, his, and I wear many hats in community. Currently, I am the community organizer for Vocal Washington. That's Voices of Community Activists and Leaders, grassroots organization that seeks to bring political power to community members that have been impacted by HIV, mass incarceration, homelessness, and of course, we already know the war on drug tactics that have been impacting our community. So we've been doing that, and I'm also the program manager for CEDU. A lot of that work consists of us working with organizations such as the REACH program and the Co-Lead program that are navigating our impacted community members that are homeless. We are going in there and conducting civic engagement meetings because we know what narrative is being created about them on the news, but we want to lift them up so they can talk about what type of policies they would like to change. I'm so grateful for people like Rye and Andrew and Joy um, who were running for a race, but also wanted to reach out to our community members who were that were in that space. You don't know how empowered they felt by people from this district asking them what they need. So I'm really grateful for them, as well as the community members that we work with in that space. I am also the vice president for the Therapy Fund Foundation. The Therapy Fund Foundation is an organization that eliminates barriers to Black healing with providing Black and Brown folks with therapy. We know that licensed therapists only make about 0.4%. We only have 0.4% of Black licensed therapists out here, but we are making sure that we are attaching Black and Brown folks with those therapists and other therapists in the state and here in California. I am also a part of the leadership team of Build Brothers United in Leadership Development, an organization that is focused on the empowerment of Black men. We do everything from our Build Black Wealth cohort, which we conduct with Black businesses for an 8-week seminar. And we also teach them not only how to manage their business, but we also give them an honorarium so they can also be able to, I will say, work through that process. So that's one of the things that we do there at Build. I also host a show on Converge Media called We Live in Color. And that prioritizes Black LGBTQ community members. Say what you want about the other gay news outlets, but a lot of them don't prioritize Black and Brown folks. This is the first of its kind here, and can't wait for season 2 because Andrew is a guest. But all of those organizations that I am a part of are not only dear to my heart, but I hope they're dear to yours. They are prioritizing Black and Brown folks. So I can talk to you a lot about Black History Month, but we can talk about the future of Black and Brown people in King County. When we think about the impacts of gentrification, when we think about 2020 and the negative narratives that some of our own Dems have been able to spew out on our folks with criminalizing them for being homeless, criminalizing them because of drug use, rather than restoring people. We are talking about the future of Black and Brown folks. That is, and we're not just speaking just in the areas of the diaspora of mass incarceration or incarcerating community members. We are talking about all Black folks. We are talking about our impacted community refugees out there in Tukwila, and making sure all of our community folks out there get housed. We are talking about our our trans women and men and non-binary people out here in this community that are tokenized during June and left to share small grants. That's just to name a few. Andrew, I can go all day, honey. So
thank you. One thing, we talk about Black history, and one organization that has made a huge impact in the civic movement in Black community, not just in America as a whole, but here in Seattle, is the NWACP. Also an organization where you are the first ever Black LGBTQ plus executive board member in the whole nation. Can you tell us more about the impact of the NWACP here in Seattle and the work it's doing in terms of policies?
Yes, absolutely. So the NAACP has been around for 117 years. And I can honestly tell everyone here that when I first went into a meeting, I was advocating for one of my friends who just needed navigation through this messed up system. We can have another discussion about that at a later date on his case. But I went to their meeting and they were talking about, and it was actually during the month of February, and they were talking about the areas that they wanted to prioritize, but they were having the meeting on Capitol Hill, but left out what it looked like to prioritize queer folks in our community. And this has happened. I was really triggered because as a kid, I could be black in the Rainier Beach area, but I could not be queer. And then I would go to Capitol Hill and not and be queer, but I couldn't get nothing was prioritized for Black and brown folks out there. So I can honestly say I cussed them out. If can I say that in this meeting? You know, it's okay. It sounded like some of y'all wanted to do that earlier, so yeah. But I cussed them out. And they offered me a seat at the table, and it was a lot to get them to unlearn and know what it looks like. Just because you're saying LGBTQ chair, so that means that I had to get a committee of different diverse community members from that community, because it's not just me. We have our lesbian women are constantly sexualized in spaces and was going through a lot of domestic violence at that specific time. So we were partnering with different organizations. 1 out of 2 gay Black men are diagnosed with HIV. So we were trying to put in workshops and listening sessions. And when I tell everyone on this line, it was hard. Because in some lenses, it may look like that we're prioritizing everyone, but we're not. And it was difficult, but it was rewarding because I had a seat at the table and these other opportunities started to come up, but not just for me. I had a great time, as well as the co-chair for the LGBTQ Commission. And I did that for 2 years, along with being a part of the NAACP.
Thanks. So this is a political setting and this is a partisan setting. And one of the main thing that drives Black Democratic voters, but also brings about discontent, disparity with especially progressive voters, is on the issue of security and safety. And there is a bit of trauma-informed policies that Black community members see security and safety from. And could you talk about it more and educate us about that?
Well, when I think about security and safety, with some of the policies that are coming out now, are you saying in the state or are you saying nationally?
Let's even in Seattle, yeah, we know what's happening in city council,
right.
And we see during elections, especially city-based elections, on how most people of color candidates tend to go tough on security, and it brings about this disparity and in terms of political spaces where progressives and center-left people or the Black communities take on safety and security.
I will say, I have to say it, and I love all of the candidates that have been running for offices, but I find it really difficult after 2020 for some of the community members that have ran to say, like, okay, well, I want to focus on policing and protecting and serving, but there hasn't been any police accountability, especially even in their own department, when it even comes to the safety of Black police officers. If you're not familiar, look at Detective Cookie and see how their treatment was throughout that space. And I think that I think in the areas of police, and when you're talking about policies, the only thing I'm thinking of when people are saying, I want to protect and work on security, it's been geared towards more police, funding more police, as opposed to funding more of the programs such as community passageways, which has been a key community compass to ending gun violence in our community, or organizations such as Black Coffee Northwest, which is investing in our youth and impacted women. And I can honestly say I'm afraid of what's going to happen over the next couple of months when it comes to protecting and serving. I think that we keep on looking at that as the answer when it really is just us. That's why we've been having these public safety meetings at Garfield Community Center to get feedback, not just from the city, but also to educate people on what other resources are out there besides law enforcement. And that's not to take, that's not from, I'm not saying I don't like cops, because that's not me. However, I do think that we don't have to put security and protecting and serving all on them. It's all, I think it's up to us. I think that conversations and the meetings that y'all are having right now is also a part of that public safety. And I want to commend everybody on this line, because that was a really tough conversation that you were all having. But all in all, one thing's for certain and two things for sure, you all want to make sure the community members are supported and protected. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, one other thing that has really impacted community, especially Black people, is gentrification. We see that here in Seattle. We're being pushed south or north of the city. And you've also had you have roots here in Seattle. How has it changed, and what do you think policies or programs that could help the Black community?
Well, I think that, so I grew up in Columbia City, and Columbia City is a little different than how like the Central District is, like which is, yes, gentrified, but Columbia City has always been a diverse area. However, I think that, there's a lot of things that are changing in our city, especially in the Central District. Not just for Black and Brown, well, for everyone in community. We have a lot of community members that are just now moving here and want to change like parks like Barnett Park into a dog park, when that is a safe haven for our community members in the summer to have family reunions. And you already know what they're doing to our beaches in our local area, which has been a safe haven for all folks, but primarily our LGBTQIA folks. So I think that one of the things I would say, there could be programs to invest in, but all in all, I think that we need to really hone in on, I would love to invest in, there is a program that I'm working on now, can't say who I'm working with it on, but we're trying to put more of this history from the Central District into the parks. More so community members who are just now moving here or just moving in the area can remember that this is the history that we have had here, how impactful our churches have been, how impactful people like Harriet Walden or the Hat Lady are, or organizations like Africa Town, Land Trust, which, if we're talking about an organization or a program that is really investing in buying in Black, and investing in restoring Black and brown folks into moving back out here, that is Africa Town. So
yeah, that is very good. I tell people it's not just about protesting the Black Lives Matter movement, it's also supporting the Black community, buy Black, support Black businesses, and not just be allies, be accomplices also. So, as I said, this is a political setting, and one thing we
every time
struggle
this is a political setting, I get scared. So go ahead.
is, how do we get especially young Black people involved in politics, and especially party politics?
I will say, figure out ways to prioritize them first, and then try to get them, and then get them into politics. I mean, there's been so many times where I've been invited into rooms and I just have to speak on that gay agenda or that recovery agenda, and then that's it. I won't say which district, but I planned on doing a candidate forum with some people in another district, and they wanted to do it in June, and when June was over, they didn't want to work with me anymore. So I use that as an example because that really I was like, well, I should just be independent. But no, all in all, my heart is with the Dems, but I do think that we can do a better job with actually reaching out to youth, and don't wait. Now it's the presidential election, and now everybody's like, well, how do we get engaged? Well, what were you doing over the past 3 years to actually prioritize Black and brown folks in this community. There are so many community members that are impacted, and and I mean this in all respect, a lot of Dems just wait till the last minute, and that is totally unfair. A lot of us are siloed in our own corners, and I don't, and then that's no offense towards anyone. I'm just speaking as a whole, as in nationally. I feel like we wait till the last minute to press the panic button when we needed to be prioritizing youth and Black and brown folks to begin with. So, I mean, if that answers your question, please don't tweet about me. Please don't tweet about me. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I really do love that you stated the presidential election, because there's a saying that there's something I always say is, oh, when every 4 years community that people care about, and how it always boils down to the Black voters to always carry the Dems across the line, especially in swing states. And I really do appreciate that the party as a whole needs to prioritize us, not just during elections, but all round. I will open the floor for maybe one or two questions.
Sean Scott, you ain't gonna ask me a question?
No question.
If you have a question,
Okay.
raise your hand.
Ellen, yeah.
Ellen, you need to unmute. Thank you.
Oh, I think we have to get all young people involved in voting. I have a grandniece who's 19, and she doesn't want to vote. She's 1/8 Black, blonde, blue-eyed, and she says, "Why should I vote for one or two old white dudes?" So she's female. So I pointed out that there's a big issue about abortion and reproductive rights. But, how do and I sent her, the URL for online registering to vote and stuff. I'm appalled that she didn't register to vote when she was 18. It's a big issue with the young people. They don't, and it's across the board, I think. I mean, it doesn't discriminate. It's an equal opportunity issue.
Yes, ma'am. And I can understand why you would say that they don't discriminate, but they do. And I think that have you asked her what are some of the policies or anything that she would want? Why do people feel? I just actually got one of my friends registered to vote, and he's 43 years old, never voted, and he never felt like he never felt the need to utilize his voice up until now. And it was because I asked him, well, what are some of the things that you want to work on? Like you think that they should be talking about, and they, as in Democrats and Republicans, in our community. What do you think city council should be doing? Well, you should vote. What can I do better, especially with everybody on this line being in leadership positions, when you hear them say that they don't want to? Well, what can I be working on that you think that I should be working on? Just as a suggestion. And sometimes when you get that answer, my niece is 17 years old, and her answer to me, I had to go to therapy for. So either way, just be prepared for the answer.
Thanks. We have one more question, John.
Thanks. I was having trouble unmuting. I've been a long-time supporter of reparations for the African American community and also for the Native American community. And I went to a graduate school at a historically Black university to earn my doctorate. And we often discussed about what an equitable policy would look like. I'm wondering, do you have any thoughts on what an equitable policy would be towards the African American community?
I think investing in education, pay off every Black person's student loan, give back some of the, and I think a lot of it is like, when we look at areas like the Central District, a lot of us were scammed out of our land. How do we get our land back? How about we get that back? And as we are prioritizing that, and you said something about our indigenous community members, that is like, stop with the land acknowledgement and start prioritizing them into leadership positions. Don't run and invest money into indigenous community members actually taking the lead on how to run this nation. Well, I'm more so speaking in this state, because what would that look like? I love the fact that we do land acknowledgements, because it is a reminder. But what is it? We've seen the Black National Anthem, and we do the land acknowledgement, but most of us are incarcerated. Most of us are impacted by violence in our community. We are still in the areas of racial injustice. So when I look at that, it's pay the fee and give the land back, and also prioritize more indigenous. We have, I believe, 37 different tribes, or 39 out here listed. And I would love to see us push more indigenous community members in office positions. If that answers your question, John, and thank you.
Yeah, and that's a good question, because I know the King County council members are also looking into repatriations. And one also important thing is we've also been disenfranchised when it comes to access to healthcare, massively. And I tell people that's, if you're not just giving us checks, give us health, give us access to health, not just access to affordable, accessible, and humane health. A good example is maternal death rates are very high among Black women because doctors don't listen to them. There's this whole stereotype that Black people have a higher threshold to pain, and therefore we are treated wrongly and stereotyped when we go to the hospital. I really hope one day that the performative nature of people trying to say they want to do something will change to actually doing something. And one thing I really like is more representation in places of power, more representation on the table, at the table. And we have one more question and we'll close out. Elaine.
Hi, I'm sorry I came in late. I appreciate that you're speaking, Deontay, and I totally agree about the debt. That is like the most elemental beginning of reparations, is first cancel the debt, any kind of debt that people of color are weighed down with. There are, on the question of representation, there are a number of groups that are specifically working on engaging Black and Indigenous and brown people for office. There's one called First Mile, which just is orientation to what being in office is, and Representation Matters is a national group. Emerge Washington also spends a lot of time, or its central work is preparing candidates, or preparing people who have not traditionally held office to be ready and have connections, have some network, have funding opportunities, have staff kinds of information. So those things are out there, and they're not something necessarily that this group or a district organization is funding, but on a private level, people can fund them anytime and ensure that you're at least contributing something to that very important change.
Yes, ma'am. I think that that is beautiful, and thank you so much for sharing that. But it's not about the other organizations. I'm more so speaking, and I'm saying this to everyone on the line, which are Dems, right? It's like there's different programs that are always out there, but I would love to know what the 43rd is going to, like what the 43rd is doing. And it's going to be more than just like having people like Sean and Andrew on the board or having me speak in February. It'd be great to see some different calls to actions with what that may look like to prioritize Black and Brown folks. And I'm not challenging. I am. I am challenging you all to look in that lens. What does it look like? And it's not just, and not during the months of February. I would have loved to come to talk to y'all in January, or hell, Jingle Bells in December, or right at Boo 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 Halloween. I would have loved to come and talk to y'all around then. What does it look like to prioritize outside of the performative months? What are you going to do next month, right? It's International Women's Day. You're going to get a woman in here and talk and have conversations about reproductive rights and how important it is to have women in office, of course. But what are you doing to make sure that we're prioritizing women and all of who they are and all of the intersections, even before that? When I was a part of a couple of organizations, I felt so I was tokenized the first couple of years, and it was done. I was done with the performing. It was time to start taking action, and it was beyond June. But I appreciate you, and I will look those up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really like the it's exhausting when you're like usually the only one in the room and everything boils down to you to educate, to advocate, and to implement things on being Black and just in that space. Really appreciate you. I'm going to give you like a minute to give us a closing statement.
Oh, yes. In my closing statement, I would just, there is no closing statement. Because at the end of the day, the work goes on, and I challenge all of you this is more than just Black History Month. This is what it looks like when we start to be active. I encourage all of you. I heard you earlier having a really deep-rooted discussion on Gaza and on freeing Palestine. I'm not going to tell you my thoughts on it, but check my Twitter. But all in all, I just hope that you are prioritizing. When you're talking about prioritizing Black and Brown folks, we don't give a damn if you know the Black National Anthem. We want to know what it looks like to prioritize all Black and Brown folks. And a lot of you are in the 43rd district, so please invest in those Black and Brown led organizations that are out there. Lavender Rights Project is an amazing organization for the Black trans femmes, Black trans men, non-binary community members. They are prioritizing community members in housing. They are prioritizing community members in jail advocacy. They are prioritizing the whole diaspora of Black, and they need you. They need you to be uplifting them in the rooms with these people that are running for office. They need you in these rooms if you're next to someone with the funding dollars. Because at the end of the day, what ends up happening with a lot of us Black and Brown led Black-led LGBTQ organizations or Black-led organizations, we end up having to share a pot of money. When you have big organizations, you take Pocan and Arth and Lavender Rights, for example, they have to share $100,000 grant. And then you have an organization like Lifelong that does great work, don't want to take anything away from it, but they get millions and millions of dollars. And they only hit us up saying, oh, well, we're missing the mark on Black and brown folks before our contract ends. Can you partner with us on something? What would it look like to fund those organizations to help community members through health disparities and safety? So I just hope that, you know, from this conversation, don't just prioritize my ass this month. Prioritize my ass every day. Prioritize Black and brown folks every hour. Because my ancestors didn't die for y'all just to have me just come one damn day. Invite me another month. Invite some other Black and brown folks in here in the month. Or start off the conversation with people who haven't registered to vote and ask what you're doing wrong. Because we all ain't got it right. We have to just be able to take accountability and be able to move forward, but also prioritize one another. And I close. I was going to say, and I yield, because I heard that shit all day.
Well, thank you so much, Deontay. I really appreciate you. And I mean, personally, you've been a mentor to me.
Can I just say, I just have to tell y'all this one story before I get out the line. I was getting burnt out. I was a part of all these different organizations, and I was going to step down from the LGBTQ Commission. And I remember writing them and saying, like, I am stepping down, but I will not step down if Andrew isn't in this position. I don't think that they knew, like, how I seen the light in you, who you are. You came to Seattle and you have just been breaking barriers. And I am just so proud of you. And you might hear him on this line being jovial, but you don't know how much this brother has been able to stand the test of time in his darkest days. So I hope that everyone on this line, Sean, you too, I hope that that you are pouring into him as much as he puts out, because you are an amazing person and the world still ain't ready for you, but you still gonna give him hell anyway, and I love you.
Thank you so much, Deontay. I'm where I am because of people like you that created and paved the way. And I really appreciate every opportunity I get to share space with you. And I'm so excited that you've brought fire to the 43rd. Don't prioritize us every 4 years. Prioritize us every single day. What policies, what's our policy? What's our agenda? What's our movement to increase BIPOC participation, but also have us represented? Thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. And great work you're doing out there. And please drop your email in case anyone wants to contact you, and keep you out there. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Deontay. And thank you, Andrew, for moderating, hosting. And those were challenging words, and we will take that to heart and look at what we can do as the 43rd to better support and uphold the Black community in Seattle. We do have in the heart of the 43rd district here, our representative, as you know, is Joy Hollingsworth. And so we have an easy into local leaders here that we will need to take advantage of. So thank you very much. With that, we will move on with our meeting. We are close to 9 o'clock. I ask your indulgence to go past 9 o'clock. We've got several very important matters that we need to go through. One, we need the results of the ceasefire resolution. Two, we're hoping to have a vote on the King County Democrats' alternate position. We do not have enough PCOs credentialed to be able to hold that vote. We do have an open technology chair, Rob Dolan, who has served as the technology chair over the last year and few months here, has made the difficult choice to step down. And thank you, Rob, for your work for the 43rd. And so we have an open position there. that I would like to have a vote on. And then I need to have a conversation about the state convention delegate selection process. And we need to vote on rules for a forum. We have also a budget presentation, but we'll, with your indulgence, postpone that until the March meeting. And with that, I am optimistic that we can get done in about 15 minutes. I will try to go very efficiently through the rest of the agenda. Liam, do we have the results? If you can post that in chat. All right, looks like the yes votes are 27, the no votes are 6, abstain is 3, and with that, the resolution passes. Thank you to everyone who spoke for and against the resolution, and we will communicate the results of this resolution vote to our elected officials and others. And thank you for that. Next up, we have the tech chair position open. Do we have a nomination for any nominations for the tech chair? Andrew.
I would like to nominate Liam.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Is there any other nominations for the tech chair? All right, seeing none. Liam, would you like to take a 2 minutes and introduce yourself? I've also posted a link in chat to a bio about you that people can also read.
Absolutely. Thanks, Paul, and thanks, Andrew, for nominating me. Hi, my name is Liam. I have lived in the 43rd for a number of years, lived kind of backside of the hill, Capitol Hill. So yeah, I've always had a, passion for technology and where it intersects with politics is, kind of the best of both worlds. So I am a urbanist at heart. I consider myself an urbanist. I am a advocate for transportation, access to it everywhere, frequently, and making sure that we're serving all communities with it. And I look forward to being able to help with optimizing technology and using what I do in my day job as a IT systems administrator to help inform, best practices and neat and cool ways that we can continue to connect with the membership and further the mission of the 43rd.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's see, for the vote, since we only have one person running for this, I will ask if there's any objections to, oh, sorry, thank you, Amy, for making the motion. If there's any, with the motion to approve by acclamation, is there any objection to us approving Liam as tech chair by acclamation? If so, please raise your hand. Any objections? All right, seeing no objections. Liam, congratulations. Thank you for volunteering to be tech chair. And thank you for the work you've been doing on the tech side already.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, in our agenda is the state and national convention delegate selection process. So let me share my screen again. All right, this is going to be fast. I will make the link to this deck is in the notes, sorry, in the agenda for the meeting, so you can look at that again at your leisure. I'm going to go through this fast, but this is super important. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I believe we got chat still open. And after I've run through this, we will address your questions. So the state and national conventions are coming up. We need to select delegates for the state and national convention. Our role, let me move on to the slide here. The state convention is June 21st through 23rd. The 22nd is the main day of the convention. The national convention is in August. We need people to run to be delegates for both of these. So you might ask, how can you run? Great question. We will have state delegate elections on April 6th. They will be online only. And the role of the delegate is that you will attend several delegate-only meetings. You'll have the opportunity to work with other delegates to draft 2 resolutions that will be presented at the state convention. You will also be able to draft amendments to the state platform and the rules and submit those. These are important things which help shape the direction of the party and clarify what we as Democrats want to stand for and work towards in the coming years. You'll attend the state Democratic convention. The location has not yet been decided. There, you'll adopt the state platform, state resolutions. You'll be able to network with other delegates and then get fired up to bring back energy to help get out the vote for the 2024 elections. You also, as a state delegate, will vote on our national delegates, so the people who go to the national convention. Just to clarify, if you are a state delegate, you do not automatically go to the national, and your name isn't automatically put in as a candidate to be a national delegate. The national delegate process is a second self-nomination process, and we'll talk about that shortly. For the 43rd, we are able to send 25 delegates to the state convention. We have also been assigned affirmative action goals, and you can see those goals here. If we meet those goals, then we also get a bonus number of delegates. So we will be able to send more than 25. There are also alternate delegates that we will elect. So in the event that somebody is sick or simply unable to attend the state convention, we will have alternate delegates who can fill in their stead. And so this is a great opportunity for us to reach out and bring more people into the party, support other communities, and hear from them and what their needs are, and bring them in to help shape the direction of the party. So if you are interested in being a state delegate, here's the requirements. You must reside in the 43rd legislative district. You do not need to be a member of the 43rd in order to run for a state delegate, but you must live in the district. You must identify as a Democrat, and you must register virtually by March 31st at 5 p.m. Again, I'll make sure that you all have this information very clearly so that you have an opportunity to you have opportunity to understand all the responsibilities that you will have as state delegate and the process to sign up and all that. Amongst those people who run to be a state delegate, the voting on who actually is elected to be a state delegate is done by members of the 43rd. So you must be a member of the 43rd in order to vote on who will be delegates. And then the delegates are apportioned according to the presidential candidates. So how to run. If you're interested in running, you can pre-register at wademsdelegates.org. If someone can throw that in the chat for me, that'd be great. You can pre-register there to get notified when the filing opens. When filing opens, submit your candidate information, and then we will have candidate forums at the legislative district level in order to so that people can get to know you in advance of the vote. Here is what the pre-registration form looks like. Here's the information that when you nominate yourself to be a state delegate, here's information that they'll ask for, your contact information, which election, state, national you're interested in running for. You can run for state or national or both. There'll be that for a photo, bio about you, which presidential candidate you support, and demographic information so that we can meet our affirmative action goals. There will be a website that goes up that will have candidate information. Looks kind of like this. This is obviously just a mock-up. This isn't a real delegate candidate here, but there will be online information so that everyone who is voting on who the delegates are will have the opportunity to learn about you in advance. We will also have a forum for the state delegates so that everyone can hear you speak. And we need to talk about the rules for that next and have a vote on that. So deadlines here, March 31st, 5 p.m. is filing deadline to be a state delegate. April 4th, we'll have forums. April 6th, throughout the day of April 6th, there will be online elections that LD members will vote on. The forums, we will run the online voting the state party is going to run. So again, requirements: you have to live in the district, you have to be a Democrat, you file. You'll be filing online at wademsdelegates.org. You can pre-register now. Filing closes at March 31st at 5 p.m. And then the election is by members of the 43rd on April 6th, and that is online. And then this deck here, this slide deck here has information on the national delegate selection process. I will be sending this out again following this meeting. It is linked in the agenda so that you can read it in advance of me sending it out, but it has information about the national delegate selection process. The deadlines for that is a bit further out. As you can see, in May is when filing closes for that. So since we're pressed for time, we won't talk through that in detail here. So with that, let me just double check chat.
Paul, Linda had a question in
Yeah,
chat.
yeah, Linda, it's a great question. I can ask the state party for that question. I think that I don't know what time they're planning on voting ending at the moment, but I think that your suggestion that voting go until late in the evening after sundown is a great one to ensure that we are being inclusive for our Jewish members who celebrating Shabbat. So I will take that action, Linda, to ask that question. Are there any other questions people have about this? You'll see more emails from me over the coming month. It's super important that if we get our delegates to the state convention, it's super important that we meet our affirmative action goals. And it's super important that we have an active membership voting on who our delegates are going to be. And we have about 6 weeks to get this all in. So if you are interested in running for delegate, I would encourage you to go to waddemsdelegates.org and pre-register now. If there are people who you think would make great delegates who aren't here in this meeting, please reach out to them. Reach out to community organizations that you might be part of to call people in to participate here so that we can have a robust and progressive voice at the state convention and do a great job of representing the 43rd and our neighbors who live here with us. Are there any other questions that people have? Okay. Seeing no questions, just let me reiterate again, I will send this deck out again. It has national delegate information in there. If you're interested in going to Chicago, that is an important, there's important information in there for you if you want to attend the national convention. One last important thing we need to do then is we need to have yes, Linda. So a couple things. Your comment here has reminded me. Yes, voting is virtual. It's going to be asynchronous, so the ballot will be open throughout the day. If there, we will have a conversation with the state party around extending that past sundown to make sure that we are inclusive there. But it is open through the day, and then the state convention will be a hybrid convention. And so if you are not able to travel to the convention or you do not feel comfortable attending a large meeting like that, there will be hybrid options for you to attend. So one last important thing we need to do as I said, on April 4th, we'll have a candidate forum for the state delegates. We need to have rules for that forum. And so here the rules are that we have drafted for that forum. Let me just provide a little bit of sorry if I can type. Let me provide a little context here. This won't be a regular meeting. The purpose of this forum is strictly to hear from all of the candidates who are running for a delegate position. And so the rules are scoped to that. There will be, we're not going to have motions for resolutions or platform changes or other business at this meeting. This is strictly around the candidate forum. So with that, the candidate forum will be conducted according to Robert rules in matters not covered by these candidate forum rules. Any motion other than motion to adjourn will be out of order. We do not need quorum to conduct the forum. The forum is here again so that candidates can introduce themselves. We will hold this forum virtually, likely with Zoom. The purpose is for candidates to introduce themselves. We will call on the candidates in alphabetical order by last name. Each candidate will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to speak. we won't be asking questions of the candidate during the forum. We're not going to have debate between the candidates or between candidates and attendees. And then on April 6th, you will have the opportunity, if you're a 43rd member, to vote on who you would like to see be delegates from the 43rd to the state convention. And so again, let me just reiterate on this. The important things are state delegates. We need to get out the call for delegates to the state convention. You have to be a resident of the 43rd to be a delegate. You do not need to be a member of the 43rd to be a delegate. You must be a Democrat. File online at waddems.org. Filing closes on March 31st, and then voting will be April 6th by 43rd members. So if you have friends, family, co-workers, collaborators in other community organizations who might be interested in joining the 43rd so they can vote on who the delegates are, please reach out to them and ask them to join the 43rd so that they can vote. And if they're also just interested in being a delegate, also reach out to them for that as well. Whew, that was a lot. Are there any questions about the delegate process? Any questions from anyone? Okay. Seeing no questions, I am not sure, James, here if we have to have a formal agenda change to punt the budget to next month, but I would like to be able to do that if there's no objection on that, since we are past 9 o'clock and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And then let me just open it up very quickly to the committee chairs. Is there anything critical that anyone needs to communicate before we go to the order and then adjourn? Okay, I'm not seeing anything from the committee chairs. If you do have something, please send it to me and I will include it in a meeting follow-up email so that we can make sure that we get that out to our membership. And then with that, a brief good of the order. Is there anyone who has anything for good of the order? And raise your hand if you do. Roxanne Murphy.
Yeah, just a quick question. I applied to be a PCO and I haven't heard back. I really want to help out with that here, so I didn't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, thank you for that question. There's been a number of, I'll just put it vaguely, there's been a number of balls dropped. If you wouldn't mind sending a mail again, you can send it to chair@43rddemocrats.org. We have Ryan on board as PCO chair now, and I believe that there are some issues on the King County Democrat side, and we'll make sure that we get this worked out so that we can get you on board as a appointed PCO.
Thank you.
And this is actually a good reminder. This year we will have PCO elections in the August primary. And so if you're interested in being a elected PCO, which gives you some additional responsibilities and privileges, look for that call for filing, which will happen. Filing deadline will be in May for that. Elaine, if you wouldn't mind also sending a mail, and we'll make sure that we get it taken care of. Thank you, Emily, for putting that. Any other good of the order? All right. Oh, let's see. Christina is saying here, for good of the order, she's working on a project to keep track of ceasefire resolutions from around the United States. Website is ceasefiredemocrats.com. All right. Thank you all very much for the engagement today, tonight on this, and for helping us stay mostly on time. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all very much.